Hello, everybody. My name is Marinel Gel from the American College of Education. Welcome to my professional development. Our topic for today is frequently asked questions. This is a professional development on the special education process in Maryland. Why do we have to prepare so many documents when going through the special education process? This is a common question from us special education teachers. We sometimes feel like we are drowning in paperwork as we go through the special education process each year. These are not anecdotal experiences. In fact, in a survey done by the Badger Institute in 2017 showed that teachers cited less paperwork and regulations to follow as the top choice when given a set of choices on what would make their job more satisfying. This concern is also recognized by the US Department of Education and attempted to give teachers some relief from paperwork by providing programs that school districts can take part in with the ultimate goal of reducing paperwork. Surprisingly, there is not a single state who expressed desire to take part in these programs. This is due to the concern that participating in the pilot programs would require more paperwork than just doing the paperwork the way they have always done it. Despite the concerns raised by the teachers, they also recognize how important these paperwork is to ensure the transparency and credibility. In this presentation, we will try to examine first, why is special education so regulated? Second, what might happen when procedures are not adhered to? Third, try to answer some of the questions that teacher ask when preparing IEP documents. Why is special education so regulated anyway? Special education is one of the most heavily regulated areas in the field of education. Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, or IDEA, is a federal law that mandates how schools should educate students with special needs. Aside from IDEA, other federal laws exist, such as the American with Disabilities Act, or ADA, and Section 504 from the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. States may also have their own rules and regulations that must be followed by the school districts in order to set the standards and conditions for students that are covered. In this presentation, we are going to focus on the Code of Maryland Regulations, or COMAR. COMAR is the official compilation of all administrative regulations issued by agencies of the state of Maryland. Regulations governing the Maryland State Department of Education, or MSDE, fall under Title 13A. Special education regulations in the state of Maryland are found in COMAR. These laws and regulations were put in place to ensure that students with disabilities receive their required services, display progress on their goals, and to ensure the school district's compliance by specifying consequences if these mandates are not adhered to. Why are these regulations necessary? Reasons include, first, students with disabilities comprise such a small percentage of the whole population that without laws to protect those who are in the minority, there is a chance that their voices might not be heard. Another reason why laws and regulations are necessary in special education is that when these services are not implemented, students may not show progress, show limited progress, or regress in their skills. So, what will happen if we don't comply to these procedures? Let's look at some cases that are related to special education. First, case number one, it's Doug C. versus Hawaii. In this case, the Hawaii Department of Education was deemed in violation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act because they held the student's annual IEP meeting without the participation of the parent. The court determined that the student was denied a free, appropriate public education by holding an IEP meeting without the parent, even though the parent did not express refusal to attend, and instead tried to reschedule the meeting in order to participate. Another case we can look at is ML versus Federal Way School District. In this case, the court determined that not including a regular education teacher on the IEP team was a serious procedural error that led to a loss of educational opportunity and a denial of free and appropriate public education. These two cases allow us to see the extent of the law and how important it is to be compliant to regulations and procedures set by the federal, state, and local school districts. Now we will proceed to the next part of our presentation, which is the frequently asked questions. Or these are questions or concerns that are raised by special education teachers in our school district. First question is, why do we have to contact the parents 3 times and document it in the meeting notice? IDEA states that it is the responsibility of the school district to ensure that the parents of the child with disability are able to join the IEP meeting. And to be able to achieve this, the representative from the school must first notify the parents early enough and schedule the meeting at a mutually agreed time and place. Comar actually defines reasonable notice by stating that notice shall be given 10 days in advance of the meeting. My noticing in this one is neither IDEA nor Comar requires 3 different methods and 3 different attempts at contacting parents. Thus, this might be a requirement that is set by our school district. Next question. Why do we give the parents the procedural form, the habilitative rights, and the signature page every year? The answer is both IDEA and COMAR requires the school district to provide a procedural safeguards notice once a year. Parents need to be updated of their rights and also provide information on how to settle disputes in case there is one. Next question. Is it okay if parents do not sign the consent for assessment form before administering assessments? The answer to that question is no. Both IDEA and COMAR requires the consent of the parent before assessments can begin. Only when the school district is able to show reasonable measures were taken to obtain consent and the parent failed to respond can the team conduct the assessments. However, it is also possible that the school district has made as many attempts as possible, only to receive no response from parents. Both IDEA and COMAR says this is okay if the school district was able to show that reasonable measures were taken to obtain consent, and if the parent has failed to respond, then the IEP team can actually go ahead and conduct the assessments. Next question. Why do we need multiple assessments for all areas during the reevaluation process? According to IDEA, there should be a variety of assessments that need to be used to determine whether the student continues to qualify for special education services. IDEA also has very specific language for reevaluations. It says that a single evaluation is unacceptable. It also describes that characteristics of assessments that need to be used and that these assessments must be technically sound. Next question. Why does the general education teacher need to be present during IEP meetings? I teach a self-contained class. The answer is IDEA requires at least one general education teacher of the child because the child may be participating in the regular education environment. Students who attend a self contained program are included in the general education setting during lunch, recess, and specials. Thus, they are within the general education environment. It is also possible that the IEP team may decide to place the student, even for just a portion of the time, in the general education classroom. Thus, the input of the general education teacher will be needed. Why do we need the parents to sign the email or the audio taping form in order for them to record the IEP meeting? Recording IEP meetings are actually not addressed by IDEA or COMAR. In response to this, the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, or OSAP, has given the directive to each state whether or not they would require, prohibit, or limit the use of recording devices at IEP meetings. The form that we ask parents to sign is a form mandated by the district and not really covered by federal or state law. Next question. Why is it important to write progress reports? What happens if we don't write them? The progress reports on IEP goals let the team know if the plan is working or not. This is also evidence that the IEP is implemented. If it is documented in the progress report that the student is not making progress, the team should meet so that they can discuss what is needed in order for the student to make meaningful progress. An example of a case wherein meaningful progress is defined is the case of Andrew F. versus the Douglas County School District. In this case, the parents expressed concern about their child's lack of measurable progress and rejected the IEP that was drafted for Andrew, since it was the same as the previous ones and thus will not change his outcomes. This case was heard at the Supreme Court, and the decision states to meet its substantive obligation under the IDEA, a school must offer an IEP reasonably calculated to enable a child to make progress appropriate in light of the child's circumstances. And those has been the frequently asked questions about special education's process by my colleagues and I. I hope that you were able to learn something today and refresh your knowledge about the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act as well as the Code of Maryland Regulations or COMAR. In conclusion, almost all of the procedures of the special education process in Maryland is regulated by either IDEA or COMAR. And although seemingly tedious, case managers should recognize the importance of adhering to these procedures set by the state and federal law. Thank you so much for listening and don't hesitate to ask any questions. And these are my references for this presentation. Thank you everybody for listening. Once again, this has been Marinelle Jiao from the American College of Education.